Bonjour, everyone. Do you think looks can be deceiving? Here's a business manager for the Timberland Regional Library District. And this man runs a club called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Don't you forget it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Thank you, Heather, for letting me know about this one. We've got Timberland Library Business Manager charged in King County prostitution sting. But it gets interesting really quick. But before we move on with this deeply sordid sting, just to make everyone feel extremely comfortable with law enforcement, never fear, law enforcement's here. Error with the recording device leads to dismissal of 61 cases. So that's great. I think the police can just be really proud. They can be proud. And of course, because this is the Olympia area, the ones accused are suing for defamation, of course. And it was not only buying SEX that was a problem. So that's a little bit misleading, that heading. This man's last name is Peters, and he was Peter Rabbit, cleverly, in his sting. Here's one on a busy street by Olympia and Lacey. It was the old Howard's Cleaners. In Lacey, there was one in Olympia too, and it all went down. And so this little puppy moved in. These move in on places that go under right away, but then they move out when the people get money to like fix it up or something. They're very temporary. They move around a lot. I was so not surprised when I saw this go in. When everything else kind of went under. And here's just kind of a little map of some of them that are, we've got one that's up the street from that called Sunshine, and, you know, does she look happy? Does she look thrilled to be massaging stinky guys in Olympia? I don't think so. Okay. In fact, I'm going to just kind of give you a quick recap, but I'll put the articles below. Mr. Peters, Peter Rabbit, had the brilliant idea, he thought, to begin something called the Extraordinary League of Men. We can't accuse him of being too humble. And he was getting women who were in debt in South Korea and bringing them over to, quote, work off their debt. It was just a very deep slave thing, and they're moved around to apartments, houses, hotels, motels, parlors. And what set him above the rest, what made him say that he was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Well, one, a lot of them were in high-end places, and two, just kind of like Yelp or something, he had ratings for these indentured, indebted SEX slaves on the internet. And that, I guess, is how the bust happened, because they had a ratings page, this one was blah, this one was, I don't even, yeah. I'm sure they love that too. I'm sure they loved being indebted and then rated by all the stinky things out here. Really sad. So that is, and I'm showing this, it's South Korea, because there was, you know what, I'll just show you so you can see. There's a lot of homesickness from these women. They miss walking around outside in Seoul. Here they are not allowed outside. They're just from one stinky parlor to the next.
Tanner pleaded not guilty in all counts.
In court today, Winston Burt faced a judge because he's charged in a human trafficking case. These documents say the defendant allegedly leads a sex trafficking enterprise that's operated in at least 3 states, including Washington. And according to prosecutors, Burt demanded that multiple female victims make $2,000 a day for him through prostitution, often along Aurora Avenue. In this document, it states when one young woman cried and said, "I want to go home," she was violently beaten and held against her will. According to investigators, on November 5th, she jumped out of a 3rd-story window of a home to escape and ended up in the middle of Aurora Avenue. A rideshare driver stopped to help, letting her into his vehicle. Police say Burt followed after in his Mercedes, firing gunshots. The woman made it to the hospital, and police arrested Burt the next day.
The sad thing about this case,
we have suicides, we have murder, and what is just really bizarre to me is the ones who were busted, who weren't on the malfunctioning cameras, got community service. Here they're saying this is an extraordinary case, there's extraordinary cruelty, it's just horrible what they're doing to these women. And then at the very bottom, in like the littlest print imaginable, you'll see things like they had to do community service. I think the very worst one of all was I like how they smile when they talk, don't you? The very worst case of all was only 3 years. Only 3 years. So, what's that all about? What is that all about? They're acting all like this is a serious thing, and I'm in front of my law books, and we've gotten these criminals. Give me a break. You look at the reality of it, and these people do not get in trouble. The ones that actually are busted do not get in trouble. Crime pays in Seattle. I don't know if it's like a Democrat thing or what, but crime pays in Seattle. And it's dreary, and there's fires that they set, if you go after them, if you try to escape, and really nothing happens to these people. The women are committing suicide, the women are getting murdered, there's stuff going up in smoke. This is about the hidden horrors of sex trafficking, and then it's just ridiculous. When you look at the actual punishments, there are none. They were like, these guys are in big trouble. We caught them. We had a giant sex sting, and they're going to have to do community service, right? They're going to, what even is the community service? I'd like to know what that is, right? It's always, there's a victim who died, and there's no murder charges or anything. There's just, shame on you. You've got to do community service. You've got to go mop up floors at a elementary school every Saturday for 6 months. Here is someone talking about all the loss. Many blessings.